This is the first time that I've ever done this in front of the City Council. So there are a group of us that are going to be speaking, and if you would be okay, that I would like all of them to speak all in order, because it's all part of the same thing that we're doing, presenting to you.
Ma'am, excuse me. Can
Yes.
you give us your name and your city of residence?
That's on my list.
Okay, all right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the City Council and community members. My name is Cindy Mader. I live in Genesee, Idaho, northern Nez Perce County. I am a concerned citizen and decided to join forces with my friends and like-minded citizens to present to you why we've got to stop drinking the Kool-Aid regarding fish and dams. Tonight we are here to ask you as members of the City Council that we would like you, after our presentation, to consider doing a resolution against the breaching of the lower Snake River dams that Representative Simpson has presented. I'm not sure how many of you were living in the Elsie Valley when the March 1992 drawdowns took place. That was an experimental drawdown, and here are some of the things that we saw. Dead fish, horrific stench, broken pipes, destroyed marinas, railroad tracks, county roads, infrastructure, all of that was destroyed. We have pictures if you would like to see that. And there are scientific facts that I would like my friend Rusty Bentz to present to you.
Good evening. My name's Rusty Bentz. I'm a steelhead and salmon outfitter for the last 20-some years and have guided or fished almost all my life here locally. I live at 1309 Powers Avenue in Lewiston. I'd like to start by saying that I think there's several points we could all agree on. First, we'd like to have more fish back. Second of all, steelhead are the #1 fish in terms of days fished and money spent in our local economy, followed by spring Chinook salmon. So I want to concentrate on those two fish. The third thing I'd like to bring up is that nobody argues with these numbers. These are all from the Fish Passage Center. Anyone can get on the internet and check these numbers. They've been checked and double-checked. The fourth thing I'd like to bring up is that Simpson's bill and dam removal advocates concentrate only on one item, and that one item is returning more anadromous fish back to our system. But if you look, when only Bonneville existed, was the only dam blocking fish returning to Idaho, you'll see how low the numbers are, both in steelhead and spring Chinook. The average return on steelhead was 127,000 fish annually. The return on spring Chinook was 68,000. Fast forward to 2000, long after all 8 dams were in place, and we have a 316% increase in steelhead numbers, a 268% increase in spring Chinook numbers. The reason that we have such a huge increase is largely due to our hatchery programs, and probably the most important factor is barging. When we started barging in the early 70s, we lost our steelhead seasons for 2 years. When they started barging, steelhead numbers took a very rapid U-turn and headed up. We took a much longer period of time to solve the spring Chinook numbers, but eventually a Washington State University researcher figured it out. Bill Strom from Orofino got the contract to modify the barges here in Clarkson. After those fish cycled, we've had a catch and keep season every year since. So what's so dangerous about Simpson's plan is if we take out the two upper dams, that would be Lower Granite and Little Goose, there goes our smoke collection facilities, there goes our barging, and I believe we'll quickly return to numbers like these or far below. The first 3/4 of the 21st century, we had fish numbers that far exceeded anything in the 20th century we have recorded. So fish and dams can coexist. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make a point of order, Madam Mayor. I think that citizens ought to be able to come make any type of presentation like this that they would like, but I don't think this is appropriate for citizen comment. I would love to have this issue put on the agenda so not only the proponents of keeping the dams, but those that want to eliminate the dams all have an equal chance to make their case. I think that this is more an agenda item than a citizen presentation item.
We were told that that we could be put on your agenda, but it would be maybe a couple months down the road. And this is such an important issue, and we believe that these numbers and that they should be brought out now, and we should talk about them. And I have a 3-minute presentation, and we have one other guy. Almost, we're close to done. Well, two more. We have two more people. So.
Go ahead and state your name and your city.
My name is Marvin Gardner, and I live in the Orchards, 3529 15th Street E in the Orchards. And like Cindy said, we put together this group, and we're citizens for the preservation of fish and dams, and we're supporting our dams. And we have some really pertinent information that needs to come out. So what would you like us to do?
Go ahead and do your 3-minute presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, environmental groups are forcing the closure of coal-fired power plants in the Northwest. Over the next 8 years, 12 coal-fired plants across the West will close. Enough dependable energy will be lost to power 3.8 million homes. The Northwest Power and Conservation Council was set up by Congress to monitor situations like this. They continually run computerized scenarios for what they call loss of load probability, the chance that our power supply will not keep up with demand. A rating of 5% or less is acceptable. Their computer simulations are predicting a 26 to 33% chance of loss by 2026. In other words, power blackouts. And that's not even considering the loss of our dams. We get 60% of our power from dams. Environmentalists claim to only want to tear out the 4 lower Snake River dams, but their history shows different. In the 1990s, they went after the Snake River dams and the dams on the Columbia River. 2 Native American tribes recently declared their intentions to go after the Columbia River dams. Only 4 of the 13 endangered fish stocks are on the Snake River drainage. The rest are on the Columbia River. If the 4 lower Snake River dams are breached, the rest will soon follow. Hydroelectric dams and gas and coal-fired power plants are dispatchable, meaning they can be turned off and on at a moment's notice when power demand rises or falls. Wind and solar plants can't do that. They only produce power when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining, and technology doesn't exist to store the power. There is no way that these green sources can completely replace our present system, and it will cost tens of billions of dollars for new power sources. Our hydropower system of dams and power grid are the envy of the rest of the world, where electricity bills are high and power blackouts are a daily occurrence. We've seen what happened in Texas and Oregon when their power grids fail. That will soon be us if we let the environmentalists have their way. You, the City Council, are considered the leaders of our community. Breaching our dams will have a catastrophic effect on our town and our region. The groups who want to tear out our dams are the same ones who promoted the forest management policies that are causing the horrific wildfires that are decimating our western wildlands. Do you really trust their judgment on the dams? It is your responsibility to take a stand against this impending disaster.
Thank you.
Sherry Wick, Lewiston, Idaho. To thank an Idaho and Washington farmer, keep our dams. If you eat 3 meals a day, thank a farmer, especially your Idaho farmers. Do you realize what Simpson's dam plan will do to Idaho's farmers and our agricultural industry? Sean Ellis with the Idaho Farm Bureau Federation wrote an article titled Farm Bureau Strongly Opposes Dam Removal Plan. I will be highlighting key points of this article. According to Mr. Ellis, in addition to the cost-effective and environmentally friendly power generated by the 4 lower Snake River dams, our wheat farmers rely on the Columbia Snake River system to transport wheat, barley, and other commodities not just regionally but globally. If the dams are removed, barges carrying our farmers' goods will no longer be able to navigate the rivers. Our railway system is currently incapable of transporting the volume of wheat that is already being delivered by barge. Also, the increased use of railways and highways to transport wheat will greatly increase carbon emissions. As long as we are discussing environmental impacts, according to the Idaho Grain Producers Association, it is counterproductive to consider removing dams that produce clean hydropower at a time when our country needs more clean energy production. In addition to this clean energy, IGPA states that barging wheat is the most environmentally friendly mode of transportation. The Pacific Northwest Waterways Association states that funding for salmon recovery should not be tied to an extreme measure like breaching the Snake River dams, which provide over 95% effective fish passage and are a critical part of this region's energy portfolio. Looking further into the effects on Idaho's agricultural industry, 42 of our 44 counties are wheat producers. Our farmers brought in about $525 million in revenue in 2020. It's Idaho's #2 crop. Nearly half of this crucial commodity is transported by barge down the Columbia Snake River system. Our farmers and our state can do without subsidies from Washington, D.C. to counteract the losses faced by dam removal. We don't need their fingers or their control in our pie. There is zero evidence that removing the dams will increase fish counts. What is clear, however, is that removing the dams will come at too high a cost for our farmers, our beautiful state of Idaho, and our way of life. We can have both fish and dams.
My name is Dick Sherwin, and I live here in Lewiston. And I apologize to everyone waiting here for the time we're taking, but this seemed to be the only way we could get this done. And so I thank you all for your patience. We've just shown you irrefutable proof that anadromous fish and dams can coexist in the Columbia Snake River system. We showed you where 6.8 million fish returned in a 10-year period beginning 25 years after the last Snake River Dam was completed. This was compared to just 1.9 million fish returning during a 10-year period just after Bonneville was completed, which was in 1937, by the way. This is an increase of 358%, which I think is pretty significant. Mike Simpson and his supporters have no right to expect others to present alternatives to his $33 million or billion-dollar scheme to gut the economy of the Pacific Northwest. The onus is up on those who want to breach the dams to prove their plan will return, ladies and gentlemen, even one more fish to our rivers. They failed to do that so far. They have no dog in the fight and nothing to lose if their harebrained scheme fails to produce results. We, however, will be left with no fish and a crippled economic engine for the Pacific Northwest. They owe us more than just mere speculation. Just like the enormous cost of introducing gray wolves to Idaho, these environmental groups insisted on, we now presently have 1,500 of them in the state at a cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now, as most of you have read in the paper, we're going to kill 90% of those due to the predation of the moose, the elk, the deer, cattle, and other domestic animals. The very things that we said would happen before this thing happened. And now these same people are coming back and they're telling us they want another harebrained scheme. And I don't think we can afford it. I will tell you really quick, and Rusty touched on this, that the probable reasons for the big returns that you see in this 10-year period were that we maximized barging. And since then, we've gotten away from that because these environmental groups don't think it's natural, and they don't want to see the numbers come back, because if the numbers come back, then nobody will agree to take out the dams. We maximize the use of our hatchery facilities, which they also don't like because they say, well, that's not natural. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not much in this world that's natural right now if you go back 100 years. We didn't have any paranoia over whether fish were clipped or unclipped. There was less predation in the river. And we had better ocean conditions. Again, I apologize for the time we took, and we do appreciate all of your patience. But I just want you to know that the facts we brought to you today are not opinion. They're not some scientific theory or somebody's wish list of pie in the sky. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the damn facts. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I want to register again my objection to this process.